Why are young people so lonely these days? If you go on YouTube and you search I'm alone or I have no friends, there's going to be videos that pop up that have millions of views, which is really depressing in and of itself. But why is this happening? What is causing this loneliness effect on some of the younger generation? And I kind of put myself in that category as well. I think what a lot of this stems from is social media, but it's a little more in depth than that. So like with social media, these things haven't been around that long. If we go back, Facebook, YouTube, probably the older ones, those have been around for 15 years, give or take, which isn't a lot of time. And you have the newer ones, you have Snapchat, Instagram, and then TikTok, which are pretty new, in terms of a historic viewpoint, a couple of years old. That's pretty significant. You have generations that have no context of what it's like to grow up with that much social media connection versus now where the generations that are growing up with it are significantly impacted by its effects. And the effects are good and bad. I've talked about this before where I think social media can be a huge detriment to a lot of people, and I think it is for a lot of people. But it's kind of the why. So with social media, in this context, I'm using kind of Instagram and Snapchat more, Facebook too, I guess. YouTube's a bit of it's a weird situation because like I'm using YouTube now and I'm trying to use it for good. At the same time, so much of YouTube is pure entertainment. And I use it for this purpose too. So it really does depend person to person on the usage. With that being said, I think Instagram and Snapchat specifically, I don't have TikTok and I never have, so it's harder for me to say for that. When you see someone on social media, for the most part, that is something they want you to see. That is not them on their average everyday life. When we get on social media, we tend to show the best versions of ourselves or the versions we want people to see. And sometimes I think we do this subconsciously, which is understandable. But that being said, because of that effect, you'll see things that aren't accurate of that person's life or lifestyle. You see that person's, screenshots of what they want to show. It can cause a lot of issues, but on top of that, I think the bigger problem with this, loneliness or the lack of friends that some people are struggling with doesn't stem from these things per se, but rather they don't have a community or a group that they feel a part of. I can use myself as an example. Growing up, I played basketball and soccer, and I made a lot of acquaintances, friends, but people overall that I would interact with consistently on a weekly basis, because we got practices and games, and a lot of the time, well, not a lot of the time, but some of those people I actually became good friends with and would hang out outside of school and sports events. And it creates a bond when you have these similarities with people that you can enjoy. Sports is a great part of that, and I do encourage people to be active in general, but you can use other situations for this. You can use other hobbies for this. I'm using sports for myself because it's very relevant when I was growing up. And now with the gym, I have people that I interact with when I do work out at the gym. Not crazy, but there's a level of community there because we have similar, or at least we have some similar goals. I think with social media, it can be really easy to get caught up in living not in our world, if this makes any sense. You can get caught up in living in, this reality that someone wants to portray, regardless of if it's true or not. And I think all of us can be guilty of this, and it's tough when that's the case. Because if everyone's doing it, you don't want to be the only one not doing it. I can speak for myself and say, I've had moments where I've been lonely. I've had moments where I've been down. And by moments, I mean stretches of time in my life where I kind of just felt out of it. I didn't feel a huge connection to a lot of people. And it's tough when you got to deal with that, when you're feeling that way, because you're feeling alone. You're feeling lonely. You don't have people that you can kind of be vulnerable with. And it's really hard when you're in those kinds of situations in life and you can't release kind of the inner stress that you're dealing with. That's tough. I can say this from experience. It's very hard. I think having a community or having a bond with at least a few people is hugely important. And that's part of why I'm making this video, because when I see these things pop up, it makes me a little sad, because I've been there. I can't say I've had like depression or anything, because I don't think I have, but I've had stretches of time where, I felt very down for a while. Part of me thinks a lot of that is life. And then I do think there's other situations for other people where it is something else, that is clinical depression. And I don't want to get too far into that, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, so I can't speak on that with any level of expertise. So I'm just going to leave it right there. Finding people with a similarity to yourself, a common theme, whether that be a hobby, whether that be some people at work that you just enjoy hanging around with. Wherever you find these situations, I would best advise you to interact. Interact with people, and the worst thing that happens is people don't want to interact with you. It is what it is. I know some people don't want to be like made fun of, on social media or whatnot, and I can understand that to some degree. But take some chances. No one wants to be lonely in their life, and no one wants to be alone. At least not for very long. I know there's some channels, there's some YouTubers, and there's other people in life that will say you have to be alone for X amount of time, or being alone is great. I see a bit where they're coming from, but we are humans. We are very social things, animals, people. We desire community. And I think because of social media and other situations, finding a community can be hard, and finding people that genuinely understand you sometimes seems impossible. I can understand where that's coming from. That's why I don't want to just brush off this topic and just be like, well, too bad, boohoo, be tougher, I don't think that's the answer. I think taking a chance to interact, finding a hobby or a commonality where you can find other people and maybe grow a relationship with them. It's a tough world out there, and it's really tough to be alone for an extended period of time. I'm very blessed to have, my wife, my family, the friends I have, create a very good structure for me. And if I'm ever feeling down or feeling a little out of it, I'll just talk with people. And everyone kind of goes through those spots. And like I said before, this is not talking about clinical depression. This is just, I would say everyday ups and downs. Having someone to talk to is very important. So I hope you can take this as an opportunity to try new things, to interact with people, because you never know what the new day brings. There might be a little bit of sunlight over that horizon. I know that sounds cliche, but it's kind of true. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope this video reaches the people that need it the most. And if you guys are in this boat, anybody, feel free to let me know. If you want to leave a comment, if you want to send an email to me, I'm more than happy to interact and talk. And I do like seeing the impact that these videos can have on other people. So hopefully this video finds you well. If you are stuck in a rut, I hope this gives you a little bit of drive, a little bit of motivation to move out of that rut and enjoy life a little bit more. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.